All right, so here we are with Joe Hardcore. I'd like to thank you for taking a few minutes with Below the Scene readers today. Really appreciate your time, brother. Now, last time we left off with you, part one of the interview, we were about 72 hours into kickoff for This Is Hardcore.
Yeah.
Now we're about 4.5, 5 months after the fest. Looking back on the fest, how does it compare to years prior? Like, do you look at it as a successful fest? Like, what's your take?
I like that people really didn't know what the other building was going to be. Like, we gave them a map, and I think I made it on like paint or something dumb. Like, and I sent it to Joel, and Joel's like, "That looks like shit. Like, let me do it." Well, even that, if I put the JPEG in front of you, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, it didn't really show you what it was going to be, and that made me feel good that people were like, "This is awesome." Like, it was very well embraced without taking away from the flavor of the fest. It didn't give kids a way to leave the room. Like, it just gave you a chance to chill out, and that was really respected. So many people were like, whatever you do, keep that going. So I mean, for me, that was success. The bands were always awesome. You saw so much cool, good times. It was one of the better years for just quality and diversity. I felt um, the reactions bands were getting earlier in the night was definitely something new. 2 o'clock on Sunday, you shouldn't have had, even with a downpour, we had hundreds of kids going crazy for earlier bands, which really makes me happy. So I would call it a success. I mean, there's always, like, you're building the pyramid, and you're every year you take the best and you build off it and you remember when it wasn't right, and you go, we got to make sure that doesn't happen.
Sure.
So, I mean, for me, I'm never going to be happier than sitting there last year and having people be like, yo, this was such a good idea, or this was cool, because I know, and I was freaking out, and I felt bad that what I wanted that room to be couldn't be done because we only had half the space we were supposed to. We didn't have all the ideas. Like, I had a great idea for a coat rack or a coat check. Only problem is I didn't tell anybody to do it. So when it came time to be like, Joe, what's up with that coat check? I'm like, oh, I was going to get these crates, but like it's Friday and I totally forgot about it. Like, plus, I mean, you were there. That church show was something special. I mean, we have had our years of church shows, but I think that was the first time I was at a church show and was looking for friends.
Yeah.
Because there were so many out-of-towners. Now, some of the out-of-towners didn't get the reason why the church is awesome because of how hot it was, how slippery it got.
Right, sure.
But I felt like the church needed a taste of like this is an out-of-town hardcore show.
Right.
But I mean, you were there for Mindset and Foundation and the surprise sets we gave and like Underdog to close and not have the room empty. That was a big moment where I felt like, cool, these kids get why I'm mixing these bands up, why I'm trying to test, like, okay, you will see Full of Hell, then you're going to have to see Minds. Like, I felt like they respected the space, and that really made me happy.
Awesome.
So I think it was a success. I mean, mentally, I came home going, man, I really wish I could have done this, this, and this.
Right.
But in turn, like, I look back and go, man, that really was, I walked away really happy.
Gotcha. Are you thinking about doing another pre-show at the church again this year? Or?
Nah, the out-of-towners don't get the room, and I honestly can't spend. I like spending my time yelling at people and berating people and putting them down, but I kind of want to run a fest and hang out with my friends sometimes, see some bands.
Gotcha.
And the neighbors at the church. I mean, that's why we started moving everything out of the church anyway. You can't put 500 kids in an August night. There, it's a real hot night.
Yeah.
Even we had 8 or 10 bands, something ridiculous. I think
right.
I think we had 10 scheduled and 12 plays in the jump one sets. So we're gonna do a union transfer.
Cool.
Which capacity means you have a better chance of getting a 4-day pass this year.
Cool.
Because the Thursday room was what kept us to a small amount of 4-day passes.
Okay.
And there was a real success in that people wanted to be there 4 days. I've always felt there was a lot of people out of town that were stuck on Thursday not doing much.
Right.
And this kind of validated that thought that, wow, we had so many kids, let's give them something really fun. I mean, think about that, the word pre-show. Imagine if you got a phone call, hey, can you play my pre-show? Like, your band's really good, but just not good enough. I can't say that about Thursday. And I never wanted to be that guy, which is why, we've never really done the pre-show thing.
Right.
That was the day one of This Is Hardcore. And anybody who would say, oh, it was a pre-show, it wasn't. That was the vibe, that was the feeling, it was the emotion of it. But, so the union transfer will give way more people the opportunity to be there if they want to be there for 4 days.
Awesome.
And the Thursday lineup that we have is something that people will never see again unless I book it, because people are afraid to book something that fun.
Awesome. Very cool. So this year you kind of put up a notice that was more of an open call to bands, whereas like in years past we didn't really see that as much from This Is Hardcore, where you allowed bands to kind of email you and interact a little more direct. Like how is that working out as far as like the booking is going?
3 years ago, I had a submissions list,
Okay.
and it made me crazy because so many bands weren't even in the scope of hardcore. But it taught me that so many bands are away from what This Is Hardcore is, but they're fans of This Is Hardcore as a festival.
Right.
Which shows that a lot of bands have a lot of like a lot wider of an ear than I do. You know, like there was a lot of cacophonous ceremony, dirgy shit mixed
Right.
with like sweeter than your tooth can ever take bubblegum pop.
Right.
With very few middle ground hardcore bands plus minus. So it was an interesting. 2 years ago, you saw less dirgy, loud, aggressive, abrasive bands, and you found yourself through the ears with pop punk. And tons of straight edge, in your face, cliche ridden, awesome, positive bands. And a ton of bands that wanted to be like locking out bands from the early 2000s or Think I Care. And this year, you don't. There is pop punk, but it's either I'm not listening to them because I've skipped over quite a few pop punk bands because obviously I don't have. It's not a pop punk fest. But you have a lot more diversity again. There's bands like the Nightbirds band really has spurred people into touch on the 80s. You know, what was wrong with hardcore when it was in the 80s? What was wrong with adding some thrash to it? We always have these bands that come from far and wide, and I say the same thing, like, I want to help every band I can.
Right.
If your band just played its first show, maybe you're not the candidate for This Hardcore.
Right.
There's 10 bands that may not be as good as you, want it more, blah, blah, blah. Will you be around in a year? Will you sustain yourself off the playing This Hardcore to still be a band?
Right.
There's so many good bands, but I mean, I would have to say, like, This Hardcore's grown. It still needs new blood, but it also needs to temper new blood with what bands are needing this leg up. The same band that's kind of been stuck in the same 4 years of I'm only going to, do these records and play with these bands. They're not bad, but you've seen them. I want to get fresh blood, but if you're so fresh that you may, bang yourself out and be gone in 2 years, that's a problem as well. So for me, I listen to these bands. I think I'm at 162 of 320 submissions.
Wow.
Something like that. I have to look at the Excel sheet, but it's ridiculous. I write down the names. I copy paste the links in case I want to show somebody them.
Sure.
I give them the record labels. All the bands who submit, You know me, my record label friends, I go, hey, check this Excel sheet out. This is what I thought. I might write some notes like, loud, this, Think I Care, or Posy stuff, or this is not good.
Yeah.
And this year we also had a lot of new submissions. I also do track from the old submission list, new one, and it's actually like 80-20 for new submissions. So it shows bands. And also, here's the thing, I don't know if you know about this. We have new labels out the wazoo. Not cassette labels, but like normal labels. Like, hey, we're this band, and we have a new label, and we have a new record on this. And I'm like, where are these labels at?
Right.
Where did they come from? Because I've never heard of these names.
Right.
So I've actually had to keep cliff notes of like different labels. Like, I've never heard of this. Like, where are they coming from? So it actually is it's kind of like mind blowing. Like every year, you're like, where do these come from? So. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. So you give everybody a listen. I mean, I think that's one of the things that when bands submit, they actually wonder, as the person at the end of the line, so you listen to every single band that submits.
That's why it takes me so long. I mean, I started getting emails. The first one, and I track it by emails. The first email I got was December 10th.
Okay.
For this year's submissions. We're at almost January 10th. Actually, it's January 10th today. So, like, a month later, I'm still not through it. Because I can only do 10 here, 20 here, 10 here,
Right.
And it's mind-blowing to see. And because I don't just listen to them and say that's it, I write their names down. Hey, who's this? Who did they talk to? So if I want to look at it and go, I have a spot for this band, or, check this out, I have it in my Excel sheet,
Righteous.
So I definitely do listen to everything.
Awesome. Well, I think the bands will be excited to hear that.
Sometimes they ask, hey, what do you think? I try not to be like, by the way, I've heard your band before, or like, sometimes I'll like make fun if like the name's weird.
Right.
Somebody had a band name. It was like something super nerdy, and I'm fucking tricky like that, so I wrote back to them, and they're like, yeah, that's where we got it from, and I'm like, that's so crazy, who would name their band that? I'll remember the name, it's going to be later.
Right
I heard a band from around here, they're an Irish, folk-inspired hardcore band, and as a folk metal enthusiast, I found it interesting there's folk hardcore now.
Right.
Some fucking pan flutes and shit, it was crazy.
Right on.
The guy
Very
doing
cool.
Tasha's band, it was cool. I didn't know anybody folk folked up hardcore besides Dropkick with their shit, you know?
Right on. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so you have a new website that I know you've been talking about for a while. I think we even touched on it very briefly in the last interview, which is philly-shows.com. Could you tell us a little bit about like what we can expect from that? What's going to happen with the site?
Well, what's coming to be is that as much as we all love a good Facebook, there's tons of people that aren't Facebook oriented. They're not stuck on it. They
Sure.
don't have it. They don't even have it on their phone. They hate it.
Yep.
And they can't access our Philly Hardcore Shows page.
Okay.
And the websites sometimes no matter how many times you post something on a message board, it gets buried. So this is the platform to put our shows up. Here's the shows that we're doing. Click over to the R5 page. You can see all the stuff that's R5 if you want to be. You'll see some reviews of shows that we do and other shows that we go to. Hopefully we get to work with you guys and blow the scene and have stuff that you guys do be linked over to our page so people can check it out.
Sure.
But ultimately, it's kind of going to be the serve-all spot for what we're doing. So instead of being like, I don't know what's going on in the shows this week, or I don't know what's going on here, here's your chance to go to a website. It's got the shows. Later on, we're going to do a show of the week feature as we get more content on the site.
Okay.
And down the line, the ideas of just keeping people linked in. Like if you, I don't know if you've ever been to Lambgoat, but because we're from Philadelphia, you go to Lambgoat. There's a little box that says like metal shows in Philadelphia at this time.
Right.
I'd like to include those kind of things so people see. Oh, I don't know what's going on this weekend. Let me check out Philly shows. Boom, here's a calendar of what's going on, And I mean, it's something that's been a long time coming, and
Yep.
I've fucking told everybody about it a million times.
Right.
But I think we really held on to the idea of hopefully getting Philly shows instead of Philly dash shows.
Mm-hmm.
So we've embraced it. The site looks cool. I'm happy with it, and content is going to be starting to ride on that site now,
Awesome.
And we're always looking for contributors, submissions, ideas. We will be running contests of all sorts, which include ticket giveaways to sold out R5 shows,
Awesome.
Free merch. We're going to be working with a lot of the labels to help get some of their band stuff out there. And,
So it's going to encompass like all different types of genres too.
Yeah.
So
Well,
like if there's
and actually that's something that's really important, and I'm glad you brought that up. Philly hardcore shows leaves one thing in mind, but what do we got in the calendar this year? We have Daylight, and we've got Whiplash, and then we've got Horror Show, and then we've
Right.
got Casualties. The guys from the Little Bar are going to let us do some smaller punk shows on Monday nights.
Cool.
We're going to have some small punk hardcore shows. There's always something going with a different flavor. And maybe Philly Hardcore Shows is a good Facebook page, but as encompassing one page, Philly Shows wraps it all in tight and nice.
Cool.
So I don't care if it's ska, black metal, oi, whatever it is.
right.
It has a place to be, We're gonna I always pick on the house show kids, but I plan to help the Cloud City guys want to put up their shows,
Yeah, oh
And
yeah.
keep the information available because so many people are tied in to the internet, but they don't want to do Facebook. They don't want to do message boards.
Right.
And we've used that world so often, we forget about the people that aren't tied into it. Plus, what could be easier than just going right to there and clicking here,
Right.
So it's later down the line we were joking about an app and stuff, and it's a possibility. But for right now, we're just happy to get a platform out there that encompasses everything that we're working on.
Very cool. So I think it's safe to say that you're probably going to be testing the waters with like some new types of shows this year, like branching out a little bit more than in years past.
I mean, for me, I booked shows by what was given to me.
Right.
What and I think that the world of punk rock booking and the world of oi, there are not many guys who are going to do what I do. A lot of promoters that will do it. Are they going to flyer? Are they going to push the effort? The R5 guys, the Andy Nelsons, the Greg Dailies, they still understand a flyer.
Right.
They understand it, but there is people that don't do it right.
Right.
So that's why, like a guy like the guys who are bringing us Casualties, like they're like, okay, Joe, we see that you're doing good. We had 300 something people at Leftover Crack in that tiny ass Barbary.
Yep.
And I'm showing you, I'm showing the people that I work with, the agencies. Here, let me show you your band. Let me show you how a real promoter is supposed to do this, which is staying with the roots, staying with the flyer, and then obviously encompassing PhillyShows.com and all the web stuff that kids are into.
Right.
But so yeah, you will see a diversity because I think it's out there. Plus, I mean, going back to the heyday of Philadelphia punk rock that everybody talks about, but half the people I know were never there.
Right.
You would go to Stalag and you'd see a Kid Dynamite show next to any number of grindcore shows, and then Kid Dynamite played with Turmoil and another Victim in one night. Philadelphia has always led the punk rock underground scene in one thing, and that we were diverse.
Right.
Sean Agnew came from ska. but became the fucking indie rock king, hot water king, and then branched off to be the man of everything.
Right.
And if there's one thing I don't want to be is, kind of like thumbing my nose at a genre,
Sure.
What is Oi? But hardcore skinhead older brother. What is punk rock? But the snotty, younger brother at times, or older refined brother at other times.
Sure.
Same thing with metal. Like anything that involves a subculture thing, you'll see me working. But also, there's tons of people that work with pop punk bands. Why not put their stuff up?
Right.
I don't personally book a lot of that stuff because there's some of my friends that book it.
Right.
But the guys in Lost Tape Collective and Joe Faree from R5, they book a lot of that. Andy Nelson touches on that. And I know there's a shit ton of shows. Like, I wish I could tell you guys some of the shows I know that's coming down the pipe.
Right.
And this year is going to be nothing like any other year. I mean, we're really busy guys, and we're all continuing to bring you stuff you guys may never even seen.
That's cool.
So I think it's a good spot, and it doesn't take away from what R5 Productions does. It only amplifies it, and it gives it a different platform,
Sure, absolutely. So it seems like, this kind of segues into what I was going to get into next, was kind of like the state of hardcore and punk rock in Philly. It seems like it's a very exciting time right now in Philly. Like the energy seems like it's definitely like picking up, because it seems like the scene over the years, like it hits like an ebb and flow, and this seems like it's really getting into quite an exciting time. I mean, there's amazing hardcore shows coming through, punk rock, punk, D-beat. I mean, like everything right now is really hitting a resurgence.
There's a world of difference between when we were kids and everybody was separated and everybody knew each other but no one talked and hung out.
Right.
If you would see the Justice League of people that come and like sit, and I always think about when we're alone at this hardcore sitting on the stage, you have Tony Pointless from the Stalag, Greg Daly from the Stalag, Andy Nelson, Sean Agnew, Timmy Hefner from Chaos and Teos, and all these other things, Ian Dixon, and these are guys that all work within our social circle. And everyone, even our good friends like Rich Hall from New York, every one of us has been doing these shows for so long that it's second nature. We're only getting better at it. We're getting better at it.
Right.
We all learn what bands are worth booking, and we always have the good ideas for new bands. And I feel like together, the positivity and amongst the promoter circle is so tight and so good. The vibe we're kicking off to each other, and the ability to have these venues. I mean, we've never had so many cool venues.
Right.
It was one or two spots. I mean, we can do a quick list. Kung Fu Necktie, Johnny Brenda's, the Barbary, Union Transfer. We can even do the Trocadero. All these doors are finally open to us. I'm doing a show at the Fire. We're doing the Little Bar.
Right.
Where there's 150 or 1,100 people, we can book you.
Right.
That's a strength that our scene has. Philadelphia, whether you're a pop punk, ska kid, whatever, you have a place that will be warm to you. The fights are over with. The bouncers aren't jerk offs.
Right.
So it's kind of like giving a bunch of really good guys, these Renaissance painters. I don't want to think we're as good as Renaissance painters. Give us a fucking canvas and a ton of paint. Like, do what you guys do. And somehow, no matter what, every time I get an email like, I got this show. I'm amazed by it. Greg Daly is I always call him the king of all that's dreadlocks and dirty.
Right.
Andy is the clean punks, clean punk, the snob punk, but his shows are all, that Lifetime show was amazing,
Right.
Sean is the big daddy of them all, the genius behind it all, and he always gives us the opportunities to work like that. So I think it's a great time, and it is because the scene has grown with us, and we've grown with the scene, and we have a really good wide opportunities to book in various different rooms, and that gives us the strength, the cohesiveness that we all work together. We all have these platforms, and the fact that the kids respect the shows and they keep coming out. The biggest part, the support is there, so we can do it. We had 20 people at every show, it'd be done. But the fact that we're doing better numbers that aren't 200 and 400, but 150. 160, constantly.
Sure.
That triumphs over everything because it's a steady pace, and I feel like we are hitting a good stride, So
Righteous.
I'm really happy with how it is.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, so for our readers, I think there's a lot of interest in kind of like what happens, behind the scenes with the promoters, and more of, kind of narrow the focus down on the day to day. Like when you're not busy booking shows, I know that takes up a large chunk of your time. What's an average day look like for Joe Hardcore? I understand you got some new puppies and.
Oh my God! on an average day, I'm up at 4:30 for concrete work.
Okay.
And it's cold or it's dark, and I go to work, and the work day goes quick. 6 to 10, 6 to 10:30. Then we go to lunch. Then I'm back from lunch. I'm home 2 o'clock. I'm on the phone. on the phone in the car. I'm talking to my girlfriend. I'm calling my daughter, or my daughter's teachers are calling me. You know what your daughter did? And I was like, this is I can't believe this is like this, you know. But by the time I get in the house, I've got emails to send. I'm always on the telephone. I have to sometimes like forget to take a shower because I run downstairs and start doing the homework. And then next thing you know, yeah, I have 2 puppies. And guess what? They gotta go out. And then I've got the 2 cats. And I have to, you know, we have a damn farm here.
Right.
So you have the 2 tuxedo cats. You got the 2 pups that need love. They gotta get food. You know, it becomes a whole ordeal of trying to mix that world with, you know, Kayla gets home at 3:30. I gotta yell at her because no matter what, she needs to get yelled at for something. You know, it's so funny. But then, you know, there's a time when, you know, Jess gets home from work and, you know, sometimes she's cooking us dinner or we're ordering out or, oh shit, this is a show night. Everybody get ready, we gotta go to the show, we have to do everything, you know, like, the one thing in this house particularly, between the farm animal, you know, the farm of, you know, the 2 cats, 2 dogs, the child, you know, the weekends with the little kids, all that stuff plays in to try to, like, make the most of the time that I have.
Sure.
In this house or what comes in this house, you know, thankfully, I sleep 3 to 4 hours at you know optimum to be good.
Right on.
So you know, there's times when I do turn off the phone. I mean, Jess will pick on me and tell you that I always show her I'm turning the phone off and I'll pick it back up. You know, like.
Right.
But there's still plenty of times where I'm laying on the couch watching movies and we all sit together and eat popcorn and you know do the on-demand stuff. But I couldn't picture a life like. I mean, you know, I know guys that just come home and they get drunk and go to bed, or I'm going to the bar to sit there. You know, like. The lifestyle of the hardcore punk promoter mixed in with the subculture and the fact that so many of our friends are so tied into it, it's one to the other, you know?
Right.
A conversation about a band tour turns into, hey, you want to go bowling tonight, you know?
Right.
And this, that, and the other. So it's kind of completely, they overlap each other in so many ways now that it's not like, oh, this is my hardcore life. This is my hardcore friends. This is, you know, like,
Sure.
They're all the same thing, you know? And even with my sword fighting friends, I know the hardcore shows, this, that, and the other, you know?
Right.
And, with my involvement in the Freemasons, a lot of my friends are, you know, we have Freemason friends that are in our lodge that are hardcore kids, and then God only knows the amount of hardcore guys I know that are, you know, oh, I'm a Freemason too, I'm in this lodge in this state, you know, and that's my night. I put on my nice suit, Jess ties my tie because I don't know how, and, you know, we go out and have a good time, and it's really interesting. I feel like the way she makes this house look and the way that, like, you know, like, our live eyes, me and Jess, I feel like a grown up. I used to feel like a child. Like, man, I'm such a little kid, man. You know, like.
Right.
But having the girl, the house, you know, the dog, you know, like, it's a chaotic life, but it's the one that is most settling. You know, like I couldn't think of a life where things were super normal and I don't know. What do you want to do tonight? You know, like the only thing I'm bad at is giving everybody the equal time. I definitely need to get more time. If you can figure out a way to make a 28-hour day or a 30-hour day, I'd love to find it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, no, kind of segueing in, I mean, recently I know you got hit with like quite an experience, you know, the whole hardcore community came together when you found yourself kind of in a bad spot, you know,
yeah,
the wrong place at the wrong time. You want to, you know, shed a little light on, you know, why that benefit went down and, you know, some of the bands that came out.
The embarrassment of it all is that, you know, I'm pretty transparent in my life and who I'm friends with and where I come from.
Sure.
And the ideals and morality that I hold dear. But then mixed in with that is the fact that, you know, like, I'm never not going to be a product of my environment. I'm never like, oh, I'm, you know, this person now, so I can't do this. The friends that I've always had, how do you say goodbye to your friends even though you're not involved every day in what they do, you know?
Right.
You know, I've had friends for more than half my life who their interaction at my show life is, yo, we're just going to show up and hang out front and see the band. Like, yo, that's so cool, you guys still do this. But we've been friends since kids, and I have a lot of hardcore friends right around This Is Hardcore. But guess what? Those are the guys calling me every day. Hey, do you want to hang out? Hey, do you want to play cards? You know, if someone's sick, they're the one who's there. If we're at funerals together, they're the one whose shoulders are crying on. So I've never abandoned my friendships. I've never gone past the point of, hey, listen, this is your life and this is my life. But I've kept it separate.
Right.
I'm a working man. I've got a family, and we have a very mutual understanding. You know, the two lives don't cross.
Right.
And in this one particular setup, those lines crossed in, like, you know, in a way that if you look at me from a perspective of, oh, look at him, he used to be in a gang, or look at him, he was on Gangland. Of course, that would happen to him. It's like, yo, if you look at my life, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to be a drug lord.
Right.
On top of being a show booking dude and a father and you know, all these other things.
Right.
So it was really embarrassing. It was embarrassing because I went through so much with that last court case. The last court case, I say like, oh, I didn't do it to begin with. some guy needed a lot of insurance money, and he sued our church, and he blamed all this stuff on me. And it's so frustrating because I think of how bad I was as a kid and how I was as a young adult, and I've got so past that. And
Right.
I don't get in trouble. I try to be the peacemaker. I've so settled down. So when I found myself arrested, I was like, man, this is such a bad state to be in. I never thought the people that came out and gave support would. I never really expected it. I'm still like kind of humbled by it, to be honest. I mean,
Sure.
Mark Porter and the guys from Four Punch stepping up. The guys, I mean, Dan from Cold World flying home. Really
Right.
touched me, man. Like really, in like the deepest way. Like there's a good personal friends, not just show friends. Like oh, they're good guys, backed hard, but they're good friends, man. And, like,
Right.
I don't want to let people down. You know, I wish there was a better way to put it, but I mean, the people that are closest to me know what I'm about and how I interact on a daily basis. If your mentality is, oh well, he was a dickhead who used to punch people at shows, so obviously he's a full-time, drug dealer. That's your business, man. I mean, I know I worked over 1,500 hours this year at fucking being a cement mason.
Right.
So, and I know what I brought home in taxes, and I know that it's not even close to what I what I ought to make for being some kind of drug lord or whatever the thing is trying to say.
Right.
But I'll have my day in court, as everybody else will. The system is not set up for someone who's guilty to ever, ever prove anything besides, oh yeah, that guy's guilty to begin with. But the not guilty guy gets screwed from the get-go. Oh, you're arrested, you're slammed down, you're fucking locked up. You have to prove your innocence, and it should have been the other way around. And I know the court says you're innocent until proven guilty, but it's like, it's not that way. The minute they got you, they treat you like shit. They
Right.
talk down to you, and they put you in the worst predicaments, and it messes with your head, man. It really does. So I was thankful that I got to be out. I was thankful that my probation officer was like, oh yeah, you don't have a record. I don't have a criminal record. I have one arrest from the last time.
Right.
And, oh yeah, it was for a fight. It was nothing for a drug dealer, From some fucking mastermind drug dealer. Wouldn't have drug charges before.
Right.
So I'm thankful that she understood that and sees that I'm working. And obviously I've been drug-free for so many damn years. But it's a stressful world, and
Yeah.
my whole foundation of we just talked about, my family life, all that stuff, that got rocked to the very core. I could have lost everything, my kid, my fucking, my girlfriend. I mean, the fact that all of you people stood by me, supported me, and trusted me and my word, and I'll never be able to forgive you, and I'm just humbled that I have that kind of support to be backed upon.
Sure.
But my day of court's going to come, and I'm going to walk out a free man, and it's because of people that have supported me that I'm able to do that. So I'll be forever thankful.
Righteous. Well said. Okay, so one of the things that I always find compelling about you as a person is your interest in the kind of the more grander scheme of politics and social function, and you have a lot of insight as far as like the prison industrial complex and a lot of different facets of sociology. Anybody who follows your Facebook feed knows that that you don't keep quiet about politics. So like right now, is there anything that really has your attention? Any grassroots organizations that have your support that are working against some of these ills that you're often pretty vocal about?
I mean, for me, look at where we came from, Philadelphia. It's a cesspool. I'm like me and my friends, and are products of single families, single parents who are, you ever see these kids talk about welfare lines and, oh, mess around with food stamps. I had Monopoly food stamps. I hid them shits, that kind of thing. And then you get raised from that system to this new, get these kids arrested right away system, get them used to being in the system. Why? So they can pimp you right, they pimp us right back out. I was telling you earlier, they have so much money in these new prisons and the for-profit system lobbying to, they came up with the idea, I don't know if you read about this, they came up with the idea that the next big push in prison population growth is going to be in illegal immigration. So they actually sold it from Capitol Hill to Jan Broder. She didn't create this at home in Arizona. Right. They said, what's a state with a huge border? Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. And they try to sell them on that, and she bit, and she's running for it like it's her own. But it's not. Someone came up with it to lobby it for it on this pro-prison system. This for-profit system. Why? I mean, look at they have statistics out there, but they don't get talked about on TV because we're worried about Kim Kardashian's fucking ass.
Right.
And fucking weddings and shit. But, there's so much money that is made of prison labor at this point. And there's more people imprisoned in America now than any point in time.
Yep.
When Egypt was having fucking millions of slaves, or whatever they were using for slaves, for pyramids, they still don't touch how many people we have in prison now. You know, like that is a fucking sham.
Yep.
And instead of building prisons, oh, we're building desks, we're building office furniture for nothing. Now they're saying, oh, you know, we can't control this like struggling poverty class. Who made it? Who made it poverty? They didn't. They didn't show up making it. They showed up with nothing. They showed up with a drug dealer making money, but where'd the drug dealer come from? Who got on the drugs? Do you think these like these people get their own Colombian contacts? No, someone down the line, and someone down the line funneled that drug in. Did the ideas of like these people in the boats? Who do you think lets them in? You know, we as a government, our government lets this stuff in, so we have it, so they can arrest us. So there's court charges, so there's judges, so there's buildings, so there's prisons, so they can be in there. It's kind of like the idea of like the Matrix in a sad state. And if you think I'm being crazy, look, Google it, read it. Our prison system is funding for-profit prisons with all this work, this slave labor, and it's the truth, and it's a sad world. Yep. And you know what? Like, if you're white or if you've like a suburbanite who's never been involved in the system, you're like, I can't believe these guys are running around committing crime. Crime is accepted in this country. It's accepted. It's grown. It's taught. You're shown it, and then every once in a while, oh, here's your turn to get in trouble for it. You know.
Right.
If they wanted to change this, they have the money, they have the power, but they don't want to. There's more money in a population that's under the thumb, locked up in jail. You know, what do you think? Do you think they don't have it? You know, like look at Philadelphia. You saw the first penitentiaries; they were here. Eastern State, Holmesburg. You know, those are fucking slave pits, and it ain't any better than CFCF. It's just worse. You know, they treat you like, oh, it's it's a big deal, and it's a turnaround. It becomes a gladiator school. You know, and I would see TV and like people like, oh, the underclass, the crime rate. Where do you think it comes from?
Right.
Do you think it comes from people that willfully choose to do it? It's what they're seeing, and what they're seeing is no other way. You know, why do you think people scrap metal? Do you think it's just because they have a hobby? I just want to scrap these. You know, it's because it's something that's of worth, and they can't get money otherwise.
Right.
Why can't they get money otherwise? Because all the good, the best jobs are what? Prison jobs now? Think about that. Think about how odd it is. There's more guys in prison that have jobs than people out of prison. You tell me. You tell me how that's crazy.
Right.
You know, between that and we can talk about the outsourcing of tech stuff, and how out of nowhere all the you don't think the illegal population has anything to do with the amount of crime or the amount of low class crime?
Right.
It's there.
So
Yeah.
So what do you think the role of people like you or even bands or just people that really have a voice that have a microphone in both a literal sense and and a physical sense? What role does the music community play in like combating these systemic ills?
By not not echoing negative things. Now, I'm not telling you don't have an opinion.
Right.
But when you take an opinion like something like, oh, well, they deserve this, look into what you're saying, read something. And don't read one side, read both. I read the Huffington Post, but damn well I'm looking at some of the stuff on the Hamilton and Cold, I'm getting both sides.
Right.
For the simple fact that I want to see where the middle is.
Right.
I'm not a leftist. I'm probably a left of center. There's some radical ideas like, in the 20s and 30s they were sterilizing people. I don't think that's a bad idea if you're going to have an underclass. If you're going to have an underclass, it's going to be permanently impoverished. And the burden is going to be on the middle class. Maybe it's time to, pull a China. Revoke your ability to birth card. Is that human rights? What's the difference between stopping us from having kids or just raising kids who are going to jail? We stop the battery power. They don't want us to not have kids because then our kids can't grow up to be criminals. So, I mean, a lot of things that they say about get rid of the legal immigration. The problem is where are you going to start? Where are you going to start? Do you see anything about Iran? They had the 3 kids from the suburbs. They just walked into the border and they got in trouble. Now, granted, smaller border, that whole argument. We know who's here. We know who's there. If we wanted to stop them, we could. The point is, it's not a big problem because if the immigrant class has the illegal immigrant class anyway, if they've got the jobs, then you have this fucked up lower class that needs to go to crime. And they want crime. That's the thing I push the hardest. Is like, look and see what's on TV. Where did all the real news go? Why is Kim Kardashian news? Why is Tiger? I don't care how many people he fucked. He's got the money. Let him fuck everybody. Why does that gotta bother you?
Right.
We've become this crazy couch potato people that are so concerned with these pseudo celebrities. You don't know we don't know where the issues are. Where are the issues?
Right.
Who's the issues? Who are these politicians, by the way? Lawyers? They're all lawyers now. The one thing I will say is, where's our war hero? Where's our war hero politicians? Where's the politicians that went and shook things up? I read a really funny quote today that said, you can either have a really strong democracy or you can have the wealth shared amongst a small few.
Right.
And that's a big part of the problem is we don't have laws on the books that are based on protecting the public. It's protecting the financial interest of the commercial, powers that be. And
Sure.
where do the commercial powers be? But the people have money.
Right.
So as a hardcore kid, as a punk kid, or as a metal kid, or anybody who just doesn't think the Rec Center, MTV, Jersey Shore, bye, read, look, go back in time, read some fucking books, see what history has shown us, there's a lot of really fascist ideas out there. There's a lot of really rude things that are, pushing, this is socialism, this is like a new Red Scare, this socialism idea. How come every other small country in other parts of the world are succeeding through socialism, but we're not, there's a lot of really nasty things that you can read, and it ruins your perspective of our country. And it sucks because I love America. I pledge allegiance to the flag. I know the national anthem, but it's sad that the world that we are in is one that's waged against people like me, underclassmen, people that grew up without a father, people that were told you're never going to be anything.
Right.
So read, make yourself at least aware of what's going on.
Right.
I don't think this generation will be, away from the snare or the trap, but, learn and tell your friends. Hear someone saying something stupid, don't argue with them, tell you an idiot, say, hey, check this out. See if your perspective changes. My perspective changes every day. I read something new every day, and I keep things as, I just read this. Maybe this is, there's no one who really knows, but you can't hurt by reading and by telling your friends, hey, check this out,
Right. So you see the function as more being, a social function within the music community of sharing ideas and keep those ideas. Because,
social uprise has to come from this generation. Otherwise, we're screwed. But the subculture that we're in is the forerunners to, left of center thinking or far left thinking. They're not sitting on their ass believing everything they're being told. Our songs don't say it. Our bands don't say it. We don't say it. So instead of sitting at home and just eating all this shit up, we're not at home Kardashian watchers. So, best thing to do is tell your friends, That's it.
Gotcha. All right, so as we kind of segue into the close of the interview, what's like on your immediate game plan as far as what's happening with Philly hardcore shows? What are the kind of the next couple of weeks looking like as far as the booking of this year's This Is Hardcore Fest?
Coupled with the amount of shows that we have going on, we've got the Daylight show this Saturday with Transit Headline at Daylight's record release party. My friend from Fallout Zine is doing the Whiplash show, his first big thrash show at the Barbary. We've got the Horror Show at the First Unitarian Church, January 2nd. We've got the Gray Area show at the Fire. We've got that great all 6-7 band straight edge show like the Saturday matinee at the Barbary, February 4th. Going along with the shows that we're booking as we go along, we've got a lot of tours coming through like Rotting Out, things like that in the nature. Going along with the time that this is headliner time. This is where the big money bands get locked in. Everybody knows who's playing. And then from there, I pick and choose the new bands, the out-of-town bands, the overseas bands. Hopefully we get bands like Oathbreaker and Breaking Point from the UK and stuff like that to come over. It'd be awesome to see that. And I mix the two worlds. Some days I'm working at This Is Hardcore. Some days I'm touching on the shows. Whatever comes first. We have the Casualties and Toxic Holocaust coming. And later on we have Rotten Out coming out. We've got that band Withdrawal from Canada with Everything Went Black. There's a lot of really cool shows. We have Xerxes coming in March. There's a lot of really cool, we have the Cop Problem record release thing that we're going to be doing. There's so many different shows that we're going to hit it as hard as we can with the website that we have, with the Facebook. And I'll be here at night calling people about shows, calling people about one-offs,
Awesome.
And just keeping them motivated, keeping the momentum going so we still have something and,
Right on.
try to make it a good year for everybody.
Awesome. Very cool. Righteous. So, as we kind of like the final closing, I don't know what to say, like the closing ceremony here, but just kind of as we segue out, what advice would you give to the bands that, want to play This Is Hardcore, that like want to get on bigger bills, like especially here in the Philly area? Like what, in your opinion, what's the best way to go about that?
If you want to get on shows, it's always good to email people with concise, hey, this is who we are, we've been doing this, we got this going on. Also, it helps when you're not a band that plays so many fucking times during a month that no one cares to see you. A lot of the local bands have a lot of opportunities to play shows, but I say to everybody, do you want to be the band that plays 6 times a month to 20 kids, or plays 2 times a month, and or 1 time every 2 months to 200 kids?
Right.
I hate to say it is, we have a great amount of local bands, and I love them all, and I'm so proud of all the efforts. But sometimes they're redundant. It gets old to play. It gets old to put the same band who you've just seen 4 other places, right down the street, right around the corner,
Right.
playing another show. We have enough fresh blood that I can cycle, and I've proven that. So I tell new bands, couple the excitement about wanting to play with, but play some stuff and go, man, are we really playing too much? Are we playing right down the street? Are we playing with the same bands? Because that's what happens. And if you're not a fresh face or something that people want to see, or if your band just keeps playing the same fucking place every 2 weeks,
Sure.
it seems there's less of a chance that you're going to be something like, oh, if I had to pick from a band who everyone's already seen before and no one really is going like, man, I can't wait to check that band out, or a band everybody wants to see, I'm going to pick the band everybody wants to see.
Right.
And that doesn't mean the established bands. It could be a brand new bands, or a band people heard about and haven't seen.
Right.
At this point, out of town bands people haven't seen are going to do better than our locals, which sucks. But our locals play far too often, too close to each other, and it's reduced the amount of people that come out from the local scene to support our local stuff. That doesn't mean we don't have great local bands. It doesn't mean we don't have great local support.
Right.
The problem is we live in a very condensed area for hardcore. Within 2.5 hour circle around Philadelphia is the best part of hardcore in this world.
I agree.
Not country, world. Come see me. Philadelphia, you can drive to fucking Connecticut in 3 hours. You can go to Baltimore in 3 hours.
Yep.
You can head, there's nowhere better for hardcore than here. So right here is where the meat of the fucking pie is. And there's so many shows, people get wrapped up in playing them all. Take your time, play some. Get your songs right. Write more than 5 songs. Don't just get a Bandcamp and then put the 7-inch out with the first label they ask. Think about what you want to do. Save your money. Meet people from out of town and travel.
Yep.
These kids play so many shows because it's like an internet thing. Hey, you want to play this? Hey, you want to play that? Hey, you want to play this? Next thing you know, they got 20 shows booked all within an hour from each other. And then they go, Joe, can I open for 100 Demons Integrity and All Out War? And I go, no, because you just played 7 other shows. So who the hell cares if you're playing this one?
Right.
And that is the biggest thing for me. It's not being rude.
Right.
But even with me booking, even with just me, 34 shows I booked last year, I was using the same locals. And I went, damn, I got to start spreading them apart. And I went, oh, because all the locals play the same freaking shows. So you're going to see a lot of out-of-town bands this year.
Right.
Look at that February 4th, look at that show with Comp. There's going to be a lot of shows, hardcore shows, where there may not be a local. There might be an out-of-town band instead.
Right.
Because they're going to get someone's interest more than seeing the same stupid band that comes and plays every other fucking day,
Yep.
So I would say couple it with, make your band better. Practice more often. Write some cool songs. Think about what you're doing and how it makes your band better, Don't rush off to get the big cartel or the merch store, Write a song that doesn't say the words, I'm stuck in a cycle day in, day out. I'm so tired of hearing that. Yeah, you're stuck in a cycle. You're fucking 18 to 24 years old. They do the same shit. I do the same shit. But I want to hear something else.
Right.
We're all in the fucking cycle. That's why we fucking get other shows to be away from that cycle.
Yep.
I'm so tired of that fucking cliche, man. It's so just rat race, all this shit, it's like, come on, man, we know this. Say something else. I want to feel some emotion. That's another thing. As a band, don't start a band because you just want to be a band, you just want to tour, you just want to be cool guys, good dudes looking out. I don't do a band because I have nothing to fucking say. I want to get on the microphone by myself and have conversations with you people just like this. I'm going to have a fucking smoking jacket, a cool-ass fucking chair, and come out by myself. And I have a better time than being in a band going, I'm stuck in a cycle every day, I got to take the dog out and wipe your ass. It's like, it's stupid, man. We all here, I know you're 18, you're excited to be in a band. Give me what's in here. If you're fucking happy, do a